Hello everyone, Cheello here, or you can just call me Daniel. I came up with Cheello when I was like 12 years old. Today I'm going to read some scary ghost stories during this time-lapse video. I really hope you enjoy them.
I grew up in a two-story house near the fairgrounds. The house was built in 1922 and used as a country doctor's office for many years. I shared an upstairs bedroom with my two brothers. My sisters shared another room, and my mom slept in the third upstairs bedroom. My mom's room had a balcony, accessible through a pair of French doors. Next to her room was a bathroom. On the first floor there were two more bedrooms and a bathroom, a kitchen, foyer, living room, dining room, and family room. The property used to occupy an entire block and had a barn, later converted to a guest house, and 3 small orchards. Apparently the 2 downstairs bedrooms were used by the doctor as his waiting room and operating room. During the 1930s stock market crash, the family lost almost everything. During that same era, the doctor ended up dying in an accident while attending to a patient. The son was killed in a train accident, the daughter in a car accident. The doctor's wife found out about all their deaths in the same week. She supposedly committed suicide by hanging herself on the balcony. My grandmother and grandfather bought the property in the 1970s. When they looked at the property, it was in a sad state. She said the house was used in the 1960s by some hippies and other strange people. When they moved into the house, it had all kinds of psychedelic paintings, strange writings, and even a pentagram in one room. After a while, she said the house was strange and called in a priest. He performed an exorcism. I remember visiting my grandparents while they lived there and having a creepy feeling while in their house and guest house. We moved into the house in 1985 when I was 10. While sharing the upstairs room with my brothers, I was never comfortable. The feeling of something there with me when I was alone was constant. Whenever we all went to bed, the door to our bedroom would shake or sometimes not stay shut. My brothers and I all agreed that at times something seemed to be standing in the doorway. One day while I was playing in the room, I heard the balcony off my mom's room creak loudly, like something heavy was on it. I went to investigate and saw that the small ridgepole under the roof beam of the balcony was bent down when before it was not. This was curious. I returned to my room and continued playing. Suddenly, I heard a faint whispering from the hallway, and then my door slammed shut. Shortly after that, my younger sister and I chose to move downstairs to the doctor's old waiting room and operating room. There I thought I was safe, but this was wishful thinking. Over the next few years, I saw dark shapes in the foyer outside of my new bedroom, and the doorknobs to my room and my sister's room next to mine would rattle. We heard footsteps upstairs and coming down the stairs, whispers when no one was there, knocking, and later, actual voices. On a night when nobody was home except me and our 2 dogs, things got freaky. I was watching TV in our living room with my dogs next to me. They suddenly started growling at the foyer, then at the doorway to the dining room. Footsteps ran down the stairs, and the partition doors at the base of those stairs banged. I was freaked. The room got really cold, and the TV started changing channels on its own. My dogs and I quickly left the house and waited for my family to come home 3 hours later. My mom asked why I was outside, and I could not tell her. For the last 3 years I was in that house, a black shape started to appear in the corner of my room, and eventually moved to the foot of my bed. My bed would shake, and I was hearing something calling my name. My mom and I prayed a lot for protection. One day I was sitting in bed reading, and this dark shape started to appear again. I prayed, grabbed my Bible, and threw it at the shape, commanding it to leave in the name of God. It disappeared. Afterwards, I smelled a very bad smell coming from my sister's room. I only stayed in that house another 2 years before moving to another town to live with other family. These experiences were not the only ones I've had in my life, many of which are in Kern County. Submitted by Bill.
My army friend lived on Amber Grove Street near Sam's Club, and I stayed there every time I was in Bakersfield. My friend had just bought the house, and he gave me a fair warning that this house might be haunted. One time, I was reading a book in the spare bedroom, and I could hear my friend playing Call of Duty in the living room. I was facing the wall, and my back was facing the door. All of a sudden, I heard footsteps coming up behind me, and I heard a very creepy clown-like laughter in my mind. I heard it very clearly in my head. I really wanted to see who was behind me, but I was paralyzed for maybe 5 seconds. When I was finally able to turn around, there was nobody there. I assure you this was not like sleep paralysis. I was wide awake and just breathing. Another time, my other army friend decided to stop by as well with his girlfriend. After he rang the doorbell, we greeted him and talked for a little bit right outside the front entrance. As soon as he stepped into the house, his iPhone, which was in his back pocket, started making white noise, and some very deep demonic voice came through that noise. We couldn't make out what it was saying. To me, it sounded like one of those Harry Potter spells, but with a deeper voice. By this time, however, we were so used to it, and he said something like, "Here we go again." I personally witnessed a lot of activities, such as pebbles being thrown at the sliding door when we were barbecuing, and random footsteps throughout the night, and footsteps coming from the roof of the house in the middle of the night, and coming back from a beer run to find closet doors open and clothes thrown on the floor. The rumor is that there is a dead body encapsulated in concrete, buried in the house behind him. He sold his house eventually and moved back to Texas, where he's originally from. I still know the address of the house, but I only want to say it's on Amber Grove Street, situated between Cedar Branch Way and Pineborough Court. Submitted by Andy. I have lived in New Hartford my whole life on the family farm. The house that we used to live in had a whole family die of smallpox. Then it was abandoned for 40 years. When I was little, I would be lying in bed, and I could hear pacing in the hallway that walked into my room, then doubled back to my brother's. This was almost every night. Both my mother and I saw him several times. In the attic hung a picture of the previous owner of the property of the house, who looked just like the spirit. In the basement was another spirit who lingered by the old well. I was stacking firewood in the basement and turned to see a man looking at me. Then I realized from the waist down he was in the wood pile, and then he was gone. I told my mother later that day. Her face went white. She had been seeing him on and off for years as she did the laundry. He would just stare at her. It was the barn, which I still work in, that the original owner of the property committed suicide in by getting drunk, then chugging a whiskey bottle full of oil. He was the only one who had ever truly disturbed me in any way. You could go months without seeing him. Then one day you would not be able to set foot in the building. You would feel someone breathing down your neck or watching you. The radio would be doing whatever it wanted, lights turning off, equipment turning on, or chains falling down that were previously tightly secured. The worst that happened was when he appeared. Sometimes he would have the appearance of what he might have looked like at the time he died. He was alone when he died, and no one knew till they went looking in the hayloft and found him with his soft flesh eaten by the barn cats. It could make sleeping hard afterward. The images would stay in your head, and it was not good. I have brought people by who did not believe me, and needless to say, they did afterward. It is sad because the only other man I know who knew the other stories of the area has recently passed away. I have had several more run-ins on the property and the surrounding area of Baskerville. I have never gone looking for any of what I have come across. I would always go and ask my now departed friend what had happened in the area. It is sad that that resource is now gone. Submitted by Anonymous.